Hey VC, it's Matt again. It's been a while, and I thought I'd make a video because I saw Mean Mr. Mayo, that would be Joe, has a contest going for his 400 subs contest. Contest is B-sides, B-side, beside the C-side. Your favorite B-sides, B-sides that you think are better than the A-side, and or at least as good as the A-side. So I thought I don't have a whole lot of 45s anymore. There's a few more, but that's basically my collection of 45s now. I used to have a lot more, so I don't have a lot that I can show, but I do have a few. So I think that's a good idea for a contest. And Mr. Mayo, if you haven't subscribed to his channel, haven't seen his stuff, definitely check him out. He's makes some great videos, knows a lot about music. He's always fun to listen to and entertaining. So without further ado, we'll get to these in a minute. These are some of the few 45s I was going to show. What I did on this contest, there's some 45s that I consider double A sides, so I'm not going to talk about those. Those would be Penny Lane, Strawberry Fields, Day Tripper, We Can Work It Out, uh, we can spend Let's Spend the Night Together, and Ruby Tuesday, things like that, where it's kind of, I think those were even marketed as a double A side single. So we all know that Penny Lane and Strawberry Fields are both great songs, and so I'm not thinking of those. But I did have a few Beatle 45s that come to mind. I don't have copies of them anymore, unfortunately, but I would just really quickly, I Want to Hold Your Hand. In America, the 45 had I Saw Her Standing There as the flip side, which is a great song. In England, the original release had This Boy as the flip side. That's a little bit slower song than I Want to Hold Your Hand, but every bit, or, well, yeah, every bit is good, I'd say. She Loves You, I'll Get You on the flip side. Great song. Can't Buy Me Love has You Can't Do That. Really great song. I think John Lennon plays lead guitar on that song, and it's a great one. Great vocals on all of those too. Ticket to Ride, yes it is not as good a song as Ticket to Ride, but it's still a great song, and it's one of those that was not on an album uh, for a long time, until after the Beatles broke up, and it eventually showed up on, I don't know where, I know it showed up on the uh, might have been on the rock and roll album in '76. I don't remember, but I know it showed up on compilations later. Kind of a forgotten Beatles song, as it were. A little bit of an experimentation with the tone pedal. Good song. Good vocals again. Help, probably my favorite song, or my favorite song of all time. The flip side of that, I'm Down. Good rocker that's kind of Paul McCartney doing his Little Richard, trying to write a Little Richard song, I guess. Great screaming vocal and great rock song. If you get a chance, go to YouTube and pull up the Beatles at Shea Stadium, I'm Down. It's a great performance. You got John Lennon playing the piano. I guess that's a Rhodes piano keyboard, doing the thing with his, and Paul McCartney spinning around laughing. Just a great live performance of a great song. Uh, Get Back 45, Don't Let Me Down is the flip side. I like that. I prefer that to Get Back, which is an okay song, but Don't Let Me Down I think is a lot better song. Ballad of John and Yoko is an okay song. Flip side is Old Brown Shoe by George Harrison. Is a nice Harrison song. I like that song. It's a good one. So, Rolling Stones, I think Paint It Black is a great song, but US, the flip side is Stupid Girl. Another great song. Not as good as Paint It Black maybe, but pretty good song. Misogynistic and politically incorrect, but good song nonetheless. And in England, the flip side was Long, Long While, which is a really good song, kind of a forgotten Rolling Stones song. It is in America, it might have been released on Flowers. album that came out in '67 in America that picked up a lot of the, because the Rolling Stones, like the Beatles, had their albums sort of chopped up in America so they could release more albums. So some things got left off, and Flowers collects some of that. It might have been on that. I don't remember for sure, but it is on Hot Rocks, the second volume of Hot Rocks. Long, Long While, really good song. Sorry that I'm looking down and not looking at you because I'm looking down at the list I wrote earlier. The Who, Kids Are Alright, great song, one of their best. The Who for me, I love the early Who, past Tommy, or yeah, past Tommy. I really don't care for them that much, of a few exceptions, but the My Generation, the Who Sell Out is one of my favorite albums of all time. Uh, and A Quick One is a good one, another great one. The first three albums are great, in other words. But yeah, Kids Are Alright, great single, one of their early singles. It's got A Legal Matter in the U.S. on the flip side, which is every bit as good as the Kids Are Alright. And in England, it has the Ox, the OX, that is on their first album, the My Generation album. It's just a blistering, wonderful, great instrumental song. One of the greatest instrumentals of all time, in my opinion. It's got, and this is '65 was their debut album, but this goes from kind of 65 style rock and roll, mercy beat, surf music to proto punk to a little bit of everything. It's just an incredible instrumental. Great piano by Nicky Hopkins, adding some piano in there, and of course you've got Entwistle on bass and Keith Moon on drums going crazy, and Pete Townsend doing his guitar magic, and Roger Daltrey, I guess he went off and got a cup of coffee or something when they recorded that because it's an instrumental. So that's that. The other band I wanted to talk with, I actually have some to show, is my third favorite band of all time, and that would be The Jam. And I know that's backwards, and I apologize, but I still haven't figured out how to write that, or if I can on this computer. But The Jam, great albums, great 45s, great 45 band, great album band, and they frequently had non-album tracks on their B-sides, and so I don't have all their 45s, but I have a few of them, and I will make a little list of the ones that I don't have. Start, 1980, #1 hit. And the thing about the Jam, I wanted to talk about them because they're one of those, when you love a band, you like to talk about them and shout it from the rooftops. You know, you don't have to do that so much with the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, but if it's a band that's unfairly neglected or doesn't get the credit they deserve, you especially want to do it. So the Jam, they were huge in England, not so much in America. Toward the end, they broke up in '82. Toward the end of their run, they did get a little bit of airplay in America, in Fort Worth, Texas anyway, and a little bit of play on MTV. So they were kind of starting to get a little bit of traction, but then they broke up immediately afterwards. So they weren't that well known, got a little bit of recognition toward the very end, and then they broke up, so they were pretty much forgotten by most. Even though, I mean, I'm not the only person in America that knows them or loves them. They've got a following, but they're not as big as they should have been here, in my opinion. So Start is the infamous Steele's Taxman riff, but it's a great song in its own right. This went to #1. This was their second #1. They had 4 #1s in England, no #1s in America. I don't know that they even charted anything. So the flip side of Start, I don't know if it says, you can't read that, but is a song called Liza Radley, which is a kind of a, might be electric, but it's an acoustic little summer sounding song about a girl named Liza Radley, and it's sort of just a song about a girl. I don't know if it's a real person or not, but it's a great little kind of, not a slow number. It's upbeat, but it's kind of acoustic type of I don't go to YouTube and check it out. I'm not doing a great job of describing it. Strange Town um, is off of it's an album cut. The and I just went blank on which album I have. It's Setting Suns, their 1979 album. The flip side, The Butterfly Collector, is another kind of moody acoustic type piece that's great Weller vocal and great lyrics and great songs. It's not on the album. Definitely worth checking out. You can check all these out on YouTube if you don't know about the jam. We have, I think this is down in the Tube Station, or A-Bomb and Water Street. It's a great song. This is this and Down in the Tube Station at Midnight were both off the All Mod Cons album. The flip side of this is a cover of David Watts, the Kinks song off of Something Else, the 1968 album, or 67, I think. Great version. Not as good as the Kinks, but few are, but it's still worth checking out. This one is another one off of Setting Suns, When You're Young, backed with Smithers Jones. Smithers Jones is on the album backed by orchestral music. On the 45, it's just a straight up guitar, drums, rock and roll backing. And this was written by Bruce Foxton, bass player. Paul Weller wrote 99% of the jam's music. Foxton, I guess, kind of the George Harrison. He wrote a few songs. They were okay. He's not as good as Weller when it comes to lyrics, but Smithers Jones is pretty close to, got to be his best song of the jam. Last one, Absolute Beginners, which wasn't on an album. It was just one of their 45s in between their last two albums. And the flip side is Tales from the Riverbank, which is also a great song. So check that out. Well, I got two more to show, but early jam 45 from the second album, I think it was, News of the World. Flip side is Aunties and Uncles, which is better than News of the World in my opinion. News of the World's a pretty good song. Down in the Tube Station at Midnight, great song, one of their best. Flip side is So Sad About Us, which is the old Who song. They wrote that, and I had that 45. I don't know where it is right now, but the picture sleeve on the back has a shot of Keith Moon, who had just died. Like, this single came out in '78, so I think he died in September of '78, and the 45 came out in October or November. So they did that kind of as a tribute to Keith Moon, and they do a pretty good version of it. It's almost as good as the Who's version. They're both pretty close. Both great songs. Both versions are great. And of course, Going Underground is the other song that came out before Sound Effects, which is my favorite album of theirs. Going Underground was their first #1 hit, and the flip side of Going Underground, here's my list. You want to see my list? It was Dreams of Children, which is every bit as good as Going Underground, and I think Dreams of Children was initially considered to be the next single or the A side. And then he wrote Going Underground, which I guess was the right choice to pick that for the A side, because it went to #1. So the last two are albums or album size 45s. This one has 5 songs on them. They were released as 45s. I just never got the 45s because in America I remember buying this at Peaches Records over on Camp Bowie when I got into the jam, and that's the bad thing. I got into them in early '82, or about summer of '82. I'd heard about them, never heard them. They didn't play them on the radio, and then I finally heard a town called Malice on the radio. Didn't know the name of it, or because they never said the name of it. I only heard it a few times, and I went looking for that and bought an album, which happened to be Sound Effects, which that song, Town Called Malice, is not on Sound Effects, but didn't matter because Sound Effects is such a great album that, I would say it's probably my 3rd favorite album of all time, if you're keeping score at home. And so eventually I got the album with Town Called Malice, but this came out Town Called Malice hit #1 in England, and this came out after Bitterest Pill Ever, Had to Swallow, which went to #2. Like I said, this was a 45 in England. Uh, Over here, they released it as this, I don't know, album size EP, whatever you call these things. Uh, but Bitterest Pill, great song, wonderful song. The It's also got the Great Depression and War, the old Edwin Starr song. Their cover of that, Edwin Starr does a better job of them than the Jam do, but it's okay. And the Great Depression's pretty good. That's I think Weller wrote that. Uh, we will find out. Yeah, Weller wrote the Great Depression. But Bitterest Pill, on the flip side of the regular 45, you had Pity Poor Alfie, and that is a Weller song, which is Bitterest Pill is so good it's hard to say that Pity is as good, but it's darn close. And then you have Fever, which is they do a really good version of that. That's the old Peggy Lee song, and you know, Fever, it's been covered by a bazillion people. Peggy Lee's probably the most famous, best known version of that. And the last Jam single, which I also have on an album sized EP, whatever thing, was Beat Surrender, which was also their fourth and final #1 record in England. Beat Surrender is a great song, one of their best. War shows up on it again for some reason. I guess they just like playing the song so much that they released it twice within a 2 or 3 month period. Stoned Out of My Mind and is by, I'm not sure who that's by. That's an old song and I can't remember who did it. But Move On Up is Curtis Mayfield of Curtis Mayfield and the Impressions fame. Jam do a pretty good version of Move On Up. They can't match Curtis Mayfield, Paul Weller. You know, I mean, it's Curtis Mayfield's Curtis Mayfield. What you gonna do? But Beat Surrender is great. One of their best songs. They've got so many good songs. It's hard to rank them really. But Shopping is a flip side on here, which is just a beautiful kind of another downbeat, moody, atmospheric, almost kind of a jazz tinge song, and that is written by Paul Weller. So that is almost as good as Beat Surrender. So there you got the Jam, and so that's what I got. I don't have a whole lot of 45s. I wish I had more, but I just thought of some of the B-sides that I liked as much or more than the flip side, and also because Joe, I know you like the Beatles, and I know you like the '60s stuff. That all the stuff that I'm a big fan of. I don't remember that you've ever mentioned the Jam or talked about them or have anything by them. But I think, and you may have some stuff and already know them, but if you don't, the fact that you like the Beatles and the '60s stuff, the Kinks, Who, stuff like that, I think that they would be someone, I think they would be right up your alley. So I would suggest that you give them a listen, give them a try. I think you might like them. They were not in the '60s. They were active from, I think their first album was '76, and they broke up in '82. So they were in that punk rock, new wave, late '70s, early '80s phase. But I think there's someone you'd like, so you might want to check them out. Anyway, so that's my B-side, the B-side entry, and thank you to everyone who's watched and has been watching my videos and subscribed, and we will see you all. Have a good Sunday.